Hey, welcome back to Crossfader. My name's Jamie Hartley, and right here we've got a brand new product review. This, the Pioneer DJ DDJ-XP2 add-on controller for both Serato DJ and Rekordbox DJ. Now this is an interesting one. It's the first time that Pioneer have designed something specifically with two softwares in mind, their own and Serato DJ. Obviously they've had products in the past that have worked with both Serato and Rekordbox, but they weren't necessarily designed with both in mind. Here we've lost labeling such as hot cues and things like that, and those labels have been replaced with numerical values. So this means it's open now to both softwares, it plugs into both softwares, and you can access nearly all of the features within those softwares right here on this add-on controller. Just before we get stuck in, this is quite a long video, so I'm going to put a time signature in the description. If you're a Rekordbox user and you just want to watch the Rekordbox section, then you can click it there. Or if you're just a Serato user and want to watch the relevant part, then you can click directly to that section of the video. And I've also attached the outro where there are a few more thoughts and opinions from me about this product as well, and why you potentially might need it as part of your DJ setup. I'm going to go through all of the features in both Serato and Rekordbox, because this works with both, which is amazing, in quite a lot of detail. Please remember, like always, to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff to help us keep making more videos like this. And I'd love to hear what you think about it in the comments below. So the first thing to understand about the Pioneer DDJ-XP2 when using it with Serato DJ Pro is that you will need some sort of Serato DJ enabled hardware, whether it be a controller like this, the Pioneer DDJ-SP3, or whether it's something like a DJ-MS9 mixer using DVS. You will need that hardware to unlock Serato. Then this is basically called an official Serato accessory. So this allows you to control lots of the features that is within the Serato DJ software, but it is not a sound card. It doesn't unlock the software itself. So you will need the license and some other dedicated hardware, especially obviously something with a mixer, because this doesn't have a mixer on anyway. So that's the first thing to understand. All of the expansions, things like Serato DVS, you'll have to purchase separately, or Serato Pitch and Time DJ, you will have to get separately, whether you get it within a subscription or a one-time fee. You can check that out on the Serato DJ website. Now, how this works with a piece of Serato DJ equipment. It plugs directly from the back of the unit into your laptop. It doesn't plug into the controller or the mixer, so it plugs straight into your laptop, and it works as a MIDI controller to control different elements of the Serato DJ software. There is no power cable, it's powered by the USB bus, and basically you're ready to go. So let's have a look at some of the basic features first of all. Like most controllers, you've got a scroll knob here where you can scroll up and down your playlists, or click in and scroll up and down your library. You can load tracks onto the left and right deck using these buttons here, and you can even skip tracks by holding shift and then pressing the load buttons as well to scroll track by track through your playlist, for example. There is a quantize button just next to that, which will activate quantize in Serato. So if you're setting up hot cues, they will be bang on the beat. And you also have a key lock button here and a beat sync button. So key lock will lock the key of the song. If you have pitch and time DJ activated, it will turn pitch and time DJ on and off as well. That's something you'll want to use for some of the pad modes later on in this review. Beat sync will sync the beats of two songs together. And then underneath there, we have key buttons. And this, while we're talking about pitch and time DJ, when it's active, you can knock the key of the song up. So you can see on the screen, it's going up there. And it goes up to 12 semitones higher and 12 semitones lower. So if you end up somewhere down there, you can hold shift and press the plus button to reset the key. Let's have a listen to how that sounds. So if I play this song, you can shift it up by 12 semitones and down by 12 semitones. If you have another song loaded on the opposite side, you can use shift and the minus to key sync to the closest key of the opposite song. Let me just load a different one in that's a bit different. You'll see it's gone down 3 semitones to find the closest key. Let me just key shift on key sync on this side. There we go. Sorry, plus 1 semitone. And then that will mix and key with the opposite side. We will talk more about the key features and the pitch and time DJ features as we get further into the pad modes. But now let me just reset the key and let's look at these amazing pad modes that we have available now in Serato DJ Pro. So the DDJ-XP2 has 8 different pad modes available, and they are just labeled pad mode 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have a shift to access 5, 6, 7, and 8. They're not labeled because this is a joint controller between Rekordbox and Serato, so if they were labeled with the modes that are available, then it might not be the same when you plug it into the other software. So that's why Pioneer have decided to just label them numerically. For the first time ever, Serato DJ now has access to 2 different modes within one pad mode. So 2 different features, within one pad mode. So because there are 16 nice RGB responsive pads, we can access in pad mode 1 up to 8 hot cues, which is the top 2 rows. And the bottom 2 rows are the sample bank. So I've got some samples loaded in here. We can go to a different bank, and for example, you could load your DJ effects, but at the same time, you could be playing around with the hot cues. Jump to different sections in the song, or you could even, if you're confident at finger drumming, be playing along and jump in and out of the song at the same time. So this is a really new, unique thing to be added to Serato DJ Pro that I know a lot of DJs are going to make use of. That's just on one side, but obviously you can repeat this on both and have both hands individually finger drumming along with different parts of a song and different samples loaded in underneath. Really cool. In pad mode 2, we have an auto beat loop mode. So we can set up a beat loop all the way down from a 30-second of a beat, which is very loud, to a 16th, to an 8th, quarter, half, 1 beat, 2 beats, 4 beats, 8 beats, 16 beats, and 32 beats. So you've got all the different parameters available there within pad mode number 2 to set up loops. This last one here that's slightly different in colour is actually a third of a beat, which has been tricky to access until this point in Serato DJ Pro, so it's nice to now have a pad dedicated just to that effects length, to that loop length. Now what you could do is use the layer at the bottom row, to beat jump now between different loops. So the outside 2 pads will jump forwards and backwards to whatever the inside 2 pads parameter is set up at. So if I go up and down, you can see here 4 beats. We can now go left and right, 4 beats through the song, 2 beats, you could use this mode for creating almost like live remixes on the fly, but again you've got 2 different features available there, from auto loop to beat jump. Pad mode number 3, this is the slicer mode. So let me just jump back into the song. This maps out 8 beats to the top 8 pads, and you'll see the blue light follow along as the music plays, and those 8 beats are now underneath each of the pads, and it continues to play. And if I hold any pad now, it loops that 1 beat, but then continues to play after I let go. You could juggle the beat up. If you want a tighter roll when you hold it, use these parameter buttons. These parameter buttons will change depending on what pad mode you're on. So if I hold this now and this pad mode 3, I can tighten it and change the roll length. Underneath again we have sampler mode. And you can start to get creative with 2 different modes again. Moving on to the next mode, pad mode number 4. Here we have beat jump again at the bottom. Then we have manual loop adjust, so we can set a manual in and out point of a loop. You can toggle that loop on and off. You can jump back to that loop with this end one and toggle it off. If you set up a loop, let's set up a quantized loop. Go back to pad mode number 4, we can save that in the saved loops. Now you can access the saved loops, or visualize them at least, on the Serato software with this button here. And then we could even just jump between the different ones. So you can toggle them on and off. And if you want to jump back to that loop, press this end one. Or we can toggle that off, toggle this one on, and jump to it. So you can jump to different loops saved within the Serato DJ software. And then these, if you want to activate a loop before it gets to that point, you can just toggle it on like that instead. So you can have up to 8 saved loops available, all within that pad mode number 4. And then even if you've got your loops set up and you jump to them, you can beat jump left and right with the loop active as well. So you can get creative that way too. Now underneath each of the pad modes. If I hold shift, press pad mode number 1, it jumps to pad mode number 5, and this is pitch play mode in Serato DJ Pro. Now, if I hold shift while I'm on that mode, you'll see that the top 8 pads show me whatever hotkeys I've got set on the song. If I just jump to the hotkey view, I can choose any of these hotkeys now and then pitch play them up and down. So I'm going to choose this hotkey, for example. If I play the song, I can pitch play up and down the song. Up until this has come out, you could only pitch play, I think I said like 9 semitones or something up with the controller layout. But now we've got all these 16 pads, we can use the parameter button and toggle up, and we can now go even higher. All the way up. And then we can go all the way down again as well, toggle it down. So you'll notice it goes all the way down to -11 and +11 semitones up and down. So this is great for tone play transitions and for playing new melodies along. And you can get creative that way. Moving on to the next pad mode, hold shift. Pad mode number 2 goes to number 6. This is similar to auto loop, however it's the roll feature within Serato DJ Pro. So you've got to hold the pad to activate the loop, and it will just loop that section until you let go. So have a listen. If I just jump back in, reset the key. This is great for just chopping beats up on the fly and creating temporary build-ups. Again, you've got a third of a beat here. Next pad mode number 7, is slicer loop. So instead of slicer mode, it now loops that section and continues playing over there, and you can obviously grab and roll each of those beats like you could in slicer mode. And you've got sampler mode directly underneath. To come out of the loop, you'll have to jump onto a different pad mode and toggle out, and it will continue playing. The last pad mode number 8, are our transport controls and beat grid edit controls. So the first 2 buttons will slow down and speed up the song. This is the same as using the jog wheel to nudge the track forwards and backwards. We can change the tempo of the song using these 2, and you can see if I hold it, the tempo goes up. Just jump back into the song, or back down again. So this is like using your tempo control here. You have key lock, or to turn pitch and time DJ on and off. You have beat sync, which I don't have anything loaded on the other side yet, but that's the sync button. And then here we have a Q button and the play button. The bottom 2 rows, we have the grid edit modes. So this blue layer here, this will stretch and contract the beat grid. So if your beat grid's wrong, you can make it wider or contract it, and ultimately change the BPM of the grid. Or you can shift the whole grid left and right if it's not quite on the beat. The middle 2 are just finer adjustments, and that's where you can then edit your grids on the fly as well. If you have a controller like this that doesn't have grid edit features, now you can do that while you're plugged in. Rather than having to do it within the software, you can use the tactile buttons, and sometimes it's a bit easier to set up your grids this way. If you're using DVS, you can quickly knock on internal mode, which is here. With a controller, you're already on internal mode, so that won't do anything. But if you're using DVS, you can knock on internal mode there. If you hold shift and press either of these buttons, you can access Decks 3 and Decks 4. This will toggle between the controls here, controlling Deck 1, for example, or Deck 3. Obviously, I'm just using a DDJ-XP2, so there aren't 4 channels on here, so I wouldn't really use that feature. But if you have a 4-channel controller, or you like to use up to 4 decks, then that's how you would control them there. While we're talking about the features up at this section of the controller, we've got an automatic 4-beat loop. This is really nice, just a tactile button on and off, so you can even access a loop when you're in a totally different pad mode. You don't have to use pad mode number 2. You can half the loop, And 2 times the loop, make it bigger and smaller. We also have here, which is a slip reverse. It will reverse the song until you let go, and then it jumps back into the song. You can play around with the song that way. And then something totally new for Serato DJ, which a lot of DVS users, the turntablists out there, are going to start using, is this silent cue mode. Now what this does is the track can be playing, but you can mute it. So you don't hear the song, but it's still playing underneath. So for example, if you're using turntables and you're doing a tone play on this side and you need to just set the next track off, it used to be quite hard because you used to have to put the fader up and hit hotkey at the same time to kind of jump to the right point. Or if you were to just press the start stop on the turntable, it might take a second to come up to speed, so it won't be in time or it won't be that tight. Now with silent cue, you can hit any hot cue, it will jump to that point and unmute. Silent cue. So that's really, really useful. This also works if you're in pitch play mode, again like I said, so if the track's playing, it still works just the same. Lastly, we have these all new ways to control Serato DJ's effects, these slide effects down each side. Now, you can change the parameter of your effects within Serato DJ software, and you can change the actual effect that you have loaded onto each of the 3 slots, and then you can simply activate them by toggling 1, 2 or 3 on and off. So this now means that you can have up to 3 effects active, and you can turn the level of the effects up and down with this nice touch strip. This is really cool for combining effects. For example, I've got an echo and a reverb loaded. If I start at the bottom and start bringing it up, now if I like how it sounds there, I can click this hold button and take my finger away, and it will continue there. And I can change the parameter still, the level of it still. Undo the hold and it turns off. I could turn the effects off, put hold on, set where I want it to be, and say if I've got a clean echo out, I can just toggle the top one on now, and it does an echo out. And there you go, you can toggle them on and off that way. This is a really nice way to get tactile with your effects. You could just tap it. Let the bass kick. Again, it's something really quite unique and new for Serato DJ Pro, is to use a touch strip like this to control the effects, and it feels great to use, and I think I would start using the effects a little bit more and in a new creative way now that I can do it with this touch strip, because it's a bit nicer than doing this up and down quite fast. You can get really sort of tactical with it. Just to show you how powerful something like this is and how it's so useful to have so many features all right next to each other, you could, for example, have pitch play mode. You could be using this. You could have an echo and a reverb on with the hold. Silent cue. And you can play around using silent cue to create silences in there, but then obviously using the pitch play mode to create a pattern and a melody while applying effects. You could have duplicator things going on here, so you could be holding, like toggling your pitch play on and then doubling it up using a delay. There's so many ways that you could get creative with a unit like this. The Pioneer DDJ-XP2 plugs directly into your laptop running the Rekordbox DJ software. The unit itself does come with a full license for Rekordbox DJ and for Rekordbox DVS expansion. So you've got all the license keys you need there to start DJing. However, this alone, you might struggle to mix tracks. It can be done internally in the software, but you don't have physical mixing a mixer on this controller, so you'd want to think about it more as an add-on controller for your current setup, whether that be something like an entry-level DDJ-400 controller or a DVS setup like a DJ mixer and 2 turntables. This then unlocks the power of Rekordbox DJ at your fingertips. So you've got all these different pad modes and all these different buttons to basically control everything that Rekordbox DJ has to offer. Now, let's have a look at some of the basic features first of all. Like most controllers, you've got a browse pot here where you can scroll up and down your library. You can hold shift and click it in to go back into your collection and up and down your playlists. You can click it back in and then load a track using the load buttons left and right. You have a master tempo control which locks the key of the song. So if we've got a track playing, when we speed it up and turn that master tempo off, the pitch will go up as well. You've got beat sync buttons, so if you want to sync the track to the opposite side, you can do that just here. You can also access the third and fourth deck controls by holding shift and pressing this INT button, and it will toggle to the third and fourth decks. Now I'm only using a 2-channel controller here, so I don't need to control all 4 decks, but if you have something like a DDJ-1000, you can access all 4 layers there. Moving across, we have a dedicated quantize button for both the left and the right deck. So if you want to set up your quantize settings so that hot cues react to, say, a whole beat or half a beat, you can do that. And when you're setting manual loops, if you decide to set manual loops, you can have the quantize on so that it reacts to that as well. Just underneath, we have a slip reverse. So when the track is playing, if you hold this button, it will temporarily reverse the song and then jump back into where it would have been anyway if you hadn't have pressed that button. To the side of there, we have an automatic 4-beat loop. You can half the loop, double the loop, and this is a really tactile way to set and control your loops. We'll talk about these other features in just a moment. Let's move on to the pad modes. Now you have 16 nice responsive RGB pads for both the left and the right hand deck. So that's 32 pads overall to control so many features within Rekordbox. The pad modes are just labelled numerically, pad mode 1, 2, 3, 4, and then underneath using the shift we can access 5, 6, 7 and 8. They're labelled just numerically rather than say hot cue and pad effects because for one, you can assign whatever mode you want to these. There is a preset that when you plug it in, it's set up in the way I'm about to show you. But you can assign whatever mode you want to whatever your preferences are. Maybe the things you use more, you would have on the pad modes 1 and 2, for example. This also works with Serato DJ. So Pioneer have decided not to label these so that it doesn't get confusing when switching between different softwares. In pad mode 1, as it comes out of the box, we have access up to 16 hot cues. So I've got 4 set here, and you can change the color of these in the software itself. If you right click on the hot cue, you can change the color and it will respond on the actual unit. You can jump to any point in the track with a hot cue. You can set up new hot cues all the way up to 16. You can delete hot cues using shift. And that's your first pad mode. Pad mode number 2 accesses Rekordbox's pad effects number 1. There's 2 different layers to pad effects. So shift and pad mode 2 will access pad mode 6, which is again another pad effects layer. So let's just have a listen to some of those. And you can combine lots of different effects within Rekordbox DJ. And you even have release effects where it will kill all the other effects when you activate it. So all of these down the edge are all set up as release effects at the moment. And you can combine them. It's a really tactile way to create some tension and some build-ups and do something interesting with the music. Moving on to the next pad mode, we have beat jump. This allows you to jump through the track at different increments. So at the top we've got 1 beat left and right, 2 beats, 4 beats, 8 beats. So you can jump through the track and get in your phrasing right, or you can just skip through the track to preview it. And it sounds quite seamless if you wanted to shorten the track live in the mix anyway. The last pad mode, we have the sampler. So I've got the sampler loaded up in the Rekordbox software via the top here. And I've got a few samples loaded in. So the top 8 are the left hand side and the bottom 8 are the right hand side. So I've got some drum one-shots there and some sound effects here. You can change the colour of those as well in the software if you edit and then click on the color, right click on the color, and you can change them. And again, they will show up on the unit itself, right there. That's the first 4 pad modes. As it comes out the box, that's how they are set up. Moving on to the next, so that second layer, we've got pad mode number 5. If we hold shift and press number 1, this is Rekordbox's keyboard mode. So if we just choose one of the hot cues, as they're flashing, it's asking us to choose a hot cue to actually play like a keyboard. So I'm going to choose this one. And then it maps it out. So the red ones are going up in semitones and the blue ones are going down in semitones. When I hit this, it'll start the track. That's the original key, and then it jumps back to that point, allows me to go up, and I can go down as well. Now once I get to either plus or minus 8, I can then change the parameter to go up and down even more. I'll go back up. And then tucked away, if I go right down, there are a few other options here where we can go plus 7 semitones, plus 12 semitones, minus 5 semitones, and minus 12 semitones. And then you can manually control up and down with these two, and you can either key sync or key reset. But they're actually featured here as well. So if we hold shift and press this button, let's load another song on actually. I just load another song on, and I press shift and key sync. It finds the closest key that will match and it will sync them together. So now I theoretically should be able to mix the 2 tracks together and they will harmonically work. That's keyboard mode. Just going back to the key shifting features here as well. If I hold shift and press plus, it will reset the key. And I can also use these key buttons to go up and down semitones too. This will continue the track playing rather than jump to a different hot cue like in keyboard mode. So that's just another way of moving around keys. Something like this works really well if you've got, say, a loop. You could then and jump into a different point in the song. So you can create interesting build-ups by shifting the key up. That's just a little trick there. We've already covered pad mode 6, which is just more pad effects. These can all be user assigned within the Rekordbox DJ software by clicking the gear icon there and then scrolling through the different effects and setting up different parameters. But again, let's have a listen. Loads to choose from. Pad mode 7, we have auto loop, and we've got every different parameter available here, right up to something silly like 512 beats. So you'd want to get used to where your common loops are. Here's number 2, number 4, and you can even go and view different things on the screen by using the parameter buttons here. But because we've got all 16 pads, basically they're all laid out, available to us right there in front. Toggle the button again and it turns the loop off. The last pad mode available is pad mode number 8, and that is key shifting. So unlike keyboard mode, this will move the track up and down in semitones like before, but the track will continue to play rather than jump back to a hot cue. We can go right up again to plus 12, and then go back down. And it sounds pretty good. Let's reset that and stop the song. So there we have the different pad modes. Now while I'm talking about pad modes, I want to make you aware of a setting in the Rekordbox DJ software. We have this pad editor here. So up at the top, if I click pad, it brings up the pad editor. Now we have 2 different assigns. I'm just on assign number 1, and you can actually just choose to map these out. So if you do use the drop down, if you don't want hot cues on the first one, you could choose any of these other presets that we've run through as your first pad mode, or you can have a user assigned pad mode. So you can literally choose from a template, or you can just individually change each one. So here we've got hot cues across the top, then samplers for the second row, beat loop for the third row, and some pad effects for the fourth row. So you might not even need to go into all these different pad modes. You might just want to put your favorite features all in one pad mode. It also means that you can do things like launch samplers At the same time as doing hot cues, you could set a loop. You can do some interesting things just by having all of it accessible within your two hands, all in the same area, and there are so many features all side by side. I just want to make you aware of one other thing to do with the performance pad modes. We also have now in templates a transport mode. So this is now the transport mode. This is new for Rekordbox in the latest version of their software, and you can access it here on the DDJ-XP2. So you can actually play the song. Let me undo that loop. You can cue the song. You can pitch bend, which is really good. You can recall different loops and memory points. I don't have any memory points set currently, but you can do them here. You can knock the BPM up and down, so you can see the BPM just behind this box. You can speed it up or slow it down. We can jump to our hot cues, and we can even reset the tempo or turn slip mode on and off. You can do next tracks. So basically, it's almost like all the features you need to DJ, apart from the faders of the mixer and the EQs. So all the things like play and cue and your tempo adjust and your jog wheel and now can all be mapped out to the pads themselves. So pretty much you can DJ just using something like this. You'll have to get really confident at where all these pad modes are, but it's not out of reach now. Let me just reset that back to the original one, hot cue, so we're back to how it was. Lastly, we have the slide effects down the left and right hand side, which are for the left and right hand decks. These are touch strip bars here that turn the effect on and also the level up and down, and you can access 3 different slide effects. Now these are separate to the normal Rekordbox effects. I've opened the effects panel, and here we have the normal effects, and then underneath I have SFX1, which are the slide effects. Once you're on that tab, you can choose different slide effects from these drop downs. There are 3 to choose from. You can only activate 1 at a time from the slide effects, so it will toggle between them. But you can test out, see which are your favourite. I'll just show you how a few sound right now. Let's put number 1 on. Here we've got a low cut echo. It changes the parameter. If you like one of the parameters, you can press hold and take your finger off, and it will stay on. You change the parameter, unhold, turns off. Try a different one. This one's dub verb. Nice little build up reverb. Number 3, we've got a reverb release. So that's a release effect that we could turn on. There we go. These are worth just playing around with and testing what you like, which are your favourites, and then setting them up. Remember, this one is for the right hand side, this one is for the left hand side. While we're talking about release effects, there's one other thing I want to point out, which is the silent cue. When you tap this on, this is great for DVS users. It will mute the song. Why is this great for DVS users? Well, if you've got a turntable and you're doing a fancy tone play transition on this side, on this deck, and you need to set the next track off, it's pretty tricky to slam a fader up and hit a hot cue at the same time after doing that. Or it might be tricky to move the crossfader across, or even just press the start stop on the turntable. Because of the way the turntable starts, it might take a second to come to speed and it'll sound a bit weird. So by having silent cue on, the track can be playing, and then when you hit any of the hot cues, or if you're in keyboard mode and hit a hot cue, it will jump to that point and unmute the song. So that means you can have a track playing, you could be doing a tone play or something interesting with the pads over here, and then just off you go and carry on playing. This makes it really easy to drop tracks in. You can also combine doing things like this with adding effects. So if we had effects on, and you can use the silent cue to create that echo out, for example, as well. So there you have it, the Pioneer DJ DDJ-XP2. This add-on controller comes in at £229 or 329 euros if you're in Europe. And to be honest, you get a lot for your money there. Whether you're a Serato user, remember you will need some Serato DJ hardware. This is just an accessory and it just allows you to perform with the Serato software, but you still need to unlock it with the license and some hardware as well. But it means that you can access everything within Serato right here at your fingertips, no matter what setup you're on. The same goes for Rekordbox. It also comes with the Rekordbox DJ software and the Rekordbox DVS license, which together cost quite a bit anyway. So this is a really, really great product to buy if you're thinking about moving on to a DVS style setup from a controller, because you get that license as well as all of those performance features. Now, why is this an important product for you to maybe have in your DJ setup? Well, I used to be a regular user of the DDJ-XP2. That was the original Serato add-on controller. And I then used the DDJ-XP2 a lot with Rekordbox. And the reason why I use those controllers a lot is because I was a working DJ, so I'd go out to clubs and I didn't necessarily know exactly what equipment I'd be greeted with. Sometimes I'd be using DVS with turntables, sometimes I'd be using DVS with CDJs. Sometimes I might even be using a controller. But the beauty of a product like this, or I used to use the SP1 for example, is that no matter what routines or what performance I had in mind, I'd already practiced it at home. I already knew it inside out on this unit. And then taking this to a club and setting it up in the booth means I can perform in exactly the same way, no matter what equipment I'm using to just nudge the track in time and correct the BPMs. Everything else I could do and perform with an add-on controller like this. So it really is a staple part of a working DJ's setup. If you want to start being a bit more creative, if you want to do more routine-based stuff, both in the club, or even if you're doing competitions and things like that. If you're aiming to be a Red Bull 3 style entrant and want to compete in that kind of competition, then this really unlocks all of those creative things that DJs aspire to do, like tone plays and word plays and finger drumming. It's all at your fingertips with something like this. So I honestly don't really have any downsides to it. I know that they work slightly differently between Rekordbox and Serato. Serato doesn't have this pad editor mode like Rekordbox does. However, there are MIDI assignable layers as well. If you double tap any of the pad modes, it's a whole blank layer. So you can just MIDI map it like you would anything else, and you can assign anything you want to those double tap layers. Let me know in the comments what you think of this product. I think it's an interesting one that Pioneer have brought to the market, and it sheds a bit of light on maybe their partnership with Serato. I know it felt like it was on the rocks for a while, but we've had the DDJ-1000 SRT come out, then this has come out. I think that partnership's well and truly moving forward. Thanks again for watching. Remember to subscribe, hit that bell icon, and I'll see you in another review video very soon.